I have been walking on this earth for 94 years. 94. And I want you to stop whatever you are doing right now and just listen to me for a few minutes, because what I'm about to tell you, it is not something you'll read in some fancy health book. It's not something a doctor with a wall full of degrees is going to sit down and explain to you. This is something that only comes from living, from watching, from losing people you love more than your own breath, and from finally figuring out what keeps a person alive and what quietly destroys them. My name is Opal June, and I've been around long enough to know that most people are not living. They're just surviving, moving from one day to the next, carrying things they should have put down a long time ago. Now, I want you to understand something before I go any further. There is a thing psychologists call behavioral patterns. That just means the habits and ways of living that your mind and body get locked into over time. Some of those patterns protect you, but a whole lot of them, they're just slowly pulling you under. And the scary part is, most people never even notice. They think it's just life. They think feeling tired and heavy and half dead inside is just what getting older feels like. But I'm here to tell you it is not. I have buried my mother. I buried my father. I have stood at the gravesides of 3 of my sisters, and I held my husband's hand until he took his very last breath. I've been to more funerals than birthday parties in this life, and I'm not saying that to make you sad. I'm saying it because every single time I lost somebody, I started paying closer attention. I started looking for the pattern, and after a while, the pattern got real clear. The ones who left early, they were not unlucky people. They were not people with bad genes or bad circumstances. They were people with habits they refused to let go of. Habits that felt harmless on the surface, normal even, but underneath, those habits were cutting years off your lives one quiet day at a time. So I'm going to tell you the 7 things I stopped doing. The 7 things I believe with everything inside of me are the reason I'm still here, still breathing, still sitting on my porch watching the sun go down at 94 years old. And I need you to really hear me, because one of these things I'm about to say, it might be something you're doing right now, today, and it might be costing you more than you realize. The first thing I stopped was eating after the sun went down. Now, before you roll your eyes at me, just hear me out. I know it sounds old-fashioned. Believe me, I know. My grandmother used to say this exact same thing when I was just a little girl sitting at her kitchen table, and I thought she was just being old, thought she didn't know anything about how the modern world worked, thought I knew better. So for years, I did what everybody does. I ate my supper, then later that night, maybe around 9 or 10 o'clock, I'd drift over to the kitchen, grab some crackers, maybe a little bowl of ice cream, sometimes a piece of leftover cornbread. Nothing big, nothing that felt like a problem, just a little something to get me through the night. But here's what was happening inside my body that I could not see. There's something researchers now call circadian rhythm disruption. That's just a fancy way of saying your body runs on a clock. And at night, that clock is set for one thing: repair. Your organs are supposed to be cleaning house, fixing damage, restoring what got worn down during the day. But when you keep sending food down at 10 o'clock at night, your body has to stop all that healing work and go back to digesting. It's like your body is trying to mop the floor and you keep walking through with muddy boots. I started waking up every morning feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My joints ached. My mind was foggy. I felt heavy in a way that had nothing to do with my weight, and I couldn't figure out why. Then one day, about 40 years ago, something just clicked. I remembered what my grandmother said, and I decided to actually try it. Last bite of food before 6 p.m. in the evening, maybe 7 in the summertime when the days weren't long. After that, nothing but water or a little cup of plain tea. Within a month, I woke up one morning and I almost didn't recognize the feeling. I felt light. I felt clear, like someone had opened up a window inside my chest. I haven't gone back since, not once in 40 years. Your body does its best work while you sleep, but only if you let. Stop sending it midnight missions. Give it the night off. It'll thank you in ways you cannot imagine. The second thing I stopped, and this one's going to hit some of you right in the chest, I stopped arguing with fools. I used to be a fighter, a real one, not with my fists, with my words. If somebody said something ignorant, something wrong, something that got under my skin, I had to respond, had to set the record straight, had to make them understand, had to win. I wasted so much of my life doing that, so much energy, so much breath. And you know what I got for all that fighting? High blood pressure, nights where I couldn't sleep because I was still replaying the argument in my head 2 hours later, tension in my neck and shoulder that never fully went away, and not one single changed mind. Not one person I argued with walked away thinking, well, shoot, Opal was right. I better rethink my whole way of seeing things. That's not how human psychology works. Psychologists have a name for it. They call it confirmation bias. It means people don't take in new information and change their minds based on logic. They filter everything through what they already believe. So when you come at them with facts and reason and passion, they're not hearing you. They're just looking for ways to prove you wrong. Their brain is literally wired to protect whatever they already think is true. You can't reason somebody out of a belief they never reasoned themselves into in the first place. So what am I doing now when somebody says something that makes my blood start rising? I smile, I nod, and I let it go. Not because I agree, not because I'm weak, but because I've learned that my peace is more valuable than being right. There's a psychological concept called emotional regulation. It simply means training yourself to choose your response instead of just reacting. And when you get good at it, when you really master the ability to let foolishness roll right off you without grabbing onto it, you save yourself years, literal years of your life. Every argument you don't have is time you get to keep. Energy you get to spend on something that actually matters. I promise you that. The third thing I stopped was sitting so much. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about going to a gym. I've never stepped foot inside a gym in my entire 94 years of living. I'm not talking about running marathons or lifting weights or any of that. I'm just talking about moving, getting up out of the chair. That's all. My husband, God rest his sweet soul, he had this big recliner in the living room, and from the time he got home until the time he went to bed, that man barely left it. He would eat in it, watch television in it, nap in it. I used to tease him about it. He'd just laugh. He was gone at 71. Now, I'm not blaming the chair, but I'm telling you what I saw and what I started understanding about the body. Your body isn't built to be still. It's built to move. There's a concept in medicine called sedentary behavior, and research shows it's one of the most dangerous things a person can do to their long-term health. Not because sitting is evil, but because when your body stops moving for stretches on end, your blood circulation slows down. Your lymphatic system, which is a system that clears out toxins from your body, it basically stops flowing. It needs movement to work. Without movement, waste builds up, inflammation builds up, disease finds a place to settle in. I walk to the mailbox every morning. I walk around the garden. When I'm on the telephone, I stand up. I hang my own laundry out in the back. I don't move because someone told me to. I move because my body asked me to. Think of your body like a creek. When the water keeps moving, it stays clean, stays clear, stays alive. But when that water sits still for too long, it gets murky, it gets stagnant. Things start growing in it that shouldn't be there. It doesn't matter if you're 30 years old or 80 years old. If you're sitting more than you're moving, you're speeding up a process you should be trying to slow down. That's just the truth of it. The fourth thing I stopped, and this one took me longer than I want to admit. I stopped holding on to grudges. I had a sister, youngest one of us. Her name was Loretta, and Loretta did me wrong. I am not going to tell you every detail of what happened because some things are private, but I will tell you this. It was the kind of wrong that gets into your bones, the kind you do not just forgive and forget by morning, the kind that changes the way you see a person forever. And for 15 years, I carried that hurt around with me everywhere I went, like a stone in my coat pocket, heavy and cold and always there. I would not speak to her at family gatherings, would not look her in the eye, would not say her name out loud if I could help it. And you know what Loretta was doing all those 15 years? Living her life, sleeping fine, going to church on Sundays, laughing with her grandchildren. She wasn't up at 2 in the morning replaying what she did. She wasn't walking around with a stone in her pocket. She had moved on. Whether she deserved it to or not, she had moved on. I was the one suffering. The grudge was not hurting her. It was eating me alive from the inside. Psychologists call this rumination. It means your mind keeps replaying a painful event over and over again like a stuck record, and every time it replays, your body responds as if the hurt is happening all over again. Your stress hormones, particularly cortisol, flood through your system. Your blood pressure goes up. Your immune system gets weaker. Your heart takes a beating. All of it because of something that happened years ago to a body that is sitting in a chair doing nothing but stewing. I call that slow death because that is exactly what it is. One afternoon, I picked up the telephone and I called Loretta. I said, I forgive you. Just like that. No long speech, no conditions, no list of everything she did wrong. Just those 3 words. She started crying. I started crying. We never talked about it again. And when I hung up that phone, I felt 20 pounds lighter. Not in my body, in my soul. Whoever hurt you, whoever wronged you, whoever you have been carrying around in that stone-cold pocket of yours, I need you to hear me right now. Let it go. Not for them. They do not deserve your forgiveness as a gift. You are doing this for you, because your body cannot begin to heal what your heart refuses to release. That's not poetry. That's physiology. The 5th thing I stopped was watching the news before bed. I know. You want to stay informed. You want to know what's going on in the world. I understand that. I was the same way for most of my life. Every night I would sit in front of that television right up until I turned the lights off, watching everything. Murders, floods, politicians hollering at each other, scandals, disasters in places I had never heard of. And then I'd close my eyes and try to sleep with all of that swirling around inside my head. What was I thinking? There's something called pre-sleep cognitive arousal. It simply means if you fill your mind with stressful, alarming information right before you try to rest, your brain does not get the message to wind down. It gets the opposite message. It goes into a kind of alert mode, like a guard who just got told there might be a threat nearby. It stays on watch, and you lie there wondering why you can't fall asleep. The news is specifically designed to trigger fear and outrage. That's not a conspiracy. That's just business. Fear and anger keep people watching, so they give you more of it every single night. And if you let that be the last thing you pour into your mind before sleep, you are basically asking your nervous system to spend the whole night running from a fire that's not in your house. I turn that television off for good around 5 in the evening. Now I read a little, nothing heavy, maybe a magazine or some scripture. I sit out on the porch and watch the birds settle in for the night. I pray a little. I let the quiet come in and do its work. And I sleep 8 hours every single night. At 94 years old, I sleep better than most 30-year-olds I know. What you put into your mind in the hour before you rest is just as powerful as what you put into your body, maybe more. Protect that time like it belongs to you, because it does. The 6th thing I stopped, and this one is the one nobody wants to hear. I stopped trying to please everybody. For most of my life, I was what you might call a people pleaser. Somebody needed something, and I was right there. Church needed volunteers, I signed up. Family member needed money, I reached in my purse. Neighbor wanted to sit on my porch and talk for 3 straight hours about her troubles. I sat there and listened and smiled and never once said I actually had somewhere else to be. And from the outside, people thought I was just the most giving, selfless woman around. But on the inside, I was exhausted. I was resentful. I was hollow. There's a term in psychology called emotional depletion. It means you have given out so much of yourself that there's nothing left. You're running on empty, but you keep going because you don't know how to stop. And over time, that constant state of depletion does real physical damage. Your immune system weakens, chronic stress hormones stay elevated. You stop doing the things that actually restore you because you're too busy restoring everyone else. I was spread so thin you could see daylight through me. And here's what nobody tells you about always saying yes. It doesn't make people love you more. It makes some of them respect you less, because people who take and take and take don't see a generous person. They see an open door, and they'll keep walking through it until you close it. Now I say no, kindly, respectfully, without a long explanation or an apology. Just no. I protect my time, and I protect my energy like they're the most valuable things I owned. Because they are. You only get so much of both, and once they're gone, they're gone. The people in my life who truly loved me, they understood. They didn't need me to be available every hour of every day to know they mattered to me. And the people who walked away when I stopped being useful to them, well, they told me everything I needed to know about why they were around in the first place. Saying yes to everybody is saying no to yourself, and that's a slow and quiet kind of destruction that most people never even realize is happening to them. And the 7th thing, the last one, and I believe this one might be the most important of them all, I stopped waiting to live. When I was a young woman, I always believed that real happiness was just a little further down the road. When I finish school, that's when I'll really start living. When I get married, when the children are grown, when we have a little more money saved, when I retire, then I'll do the things I want to do. Then I'll say the things I want to say. Then I'll take the trip, wear the dress, and call the people I miss. Then, always then, never now. Psychologists call this deferred happiness, the belief that your real life is waiting for you on the other side of whatever you haven't done yet. And it's one of the most devastating traps a human being can fall into, because life doesn't wait for your plans to come together. Life happens right now, in the meantime, while you're busy making arrangements for later. My husband and I talked about going to California for 30 years. 30 years of saying someday we'll go. We made real plans once, had a date set, had the trip mapped out. He passed away 3 months before we were supposed to leave. My dearest friend Dot and I used to talk about sitting on the beach together after we both retired. We were going to read books and watch the water and not have a single thing to worry about. She never made it to retirement. The trip didn't happen, the beach didn't happen. Someday never came for either of them. Don't let someday be your story. Whatever it is you've been putting off, Do it now. Call the person you've been meaning to call. Say the words you've been holding back. Take the trip. Eat the good food off the nice plates that you only bring out for company. Wear the dress that's sitting in the back of your closet waiting for a special occasion. Today is a special occasion. The fact that you woke up grieving this morning is a special occasion. Tomorrow is not promised to me at 94, and it's not promised to you at whatever age you are sitting there reading this right now. The only time that is real is the time you are standing in. Use it. Don't save your life for later. There is no later that is guaranteed. So there it is. 7 things. 7 things I walked away from that I believe in my bones are the reason I'm still here. Stop eating in the late hours of the night and let your body do what it was built to do while you sleep. Stop arguing with people who have already made up their minds, and stop protecting your peace like the precious resource it is. Stop sitting still so long and let your body keep moving the way it needs to. Stop carrying old hurt around like it's your personal cross to bear, and release it, not for them, for you. Stop letting the noise and fear of the world be the last thing you hear before you close your eyes, and start giving your mind the quiet it deserves. Stop handing yourself out to everyone who asks, and start reserving some of yourself for yourself. And stop postponing your own life